the very embodiment of my pride and soul, and the monster that shatters the darkness of this terrible meta we always find ourselves in. What's up, guys? Max Clausen, and today I'm bringing you my deck profile of Blue Eyes Branded that I took to my locals the other day. Disclaimer, didn't do too well, but that's the game. Didn't get the greatest draws, got matched up poorly, and just luck was not my side, as often as it is. But you're not here for that. You're here for the deck profile as you've clicked on it. So I'm going to be showing you the main, extra, and side. And if you guys like what I do, be sure to hit subscribe, leave a like if you also enjoyed the video, and don't be afraid to leave some comments of what you would play this with instead, what kind of variant of Blue Eyes you'd play, the Synchro heavy, the Xyz heavy, what else are the variant? The Ritual version, which I would have to buy stuff again, so you'd have to give me some time. Also, if you haven't noticed my latest posts, I will be uploading deck profiles and videos at 2 o'clock p.m. EST, UT, whatever it is. 2 o'clock my time in Jersey. So, without further ado, I'm going to get right into this. Also, if you like my little field center here, we will be getting a Scar Red Dragon or, Red Dragon Archfiend structure deck soon, so I may do a profile on that. Alright, with the monsters of the Blue Eyes family, we have 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon, the 1 alternative White Dragon, 2 Blue Eyes Jet Dragon, 1 Dragon Spirit of White, 2 Dictator of These, and 3 White Stone of Ancients. So, this is the Blue Eyes lineup of cards I play, and you can change it around if you want to, put in what you feel would be best, but this is what I decided to go with. Obviously, if it's a Blue Eyes deck, you want to run 3 of the big guy. He's your very important card. Without him, the deck literally cannot function properly, because he's the summon condition for Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon, El the Glare. So what this card does, as I've explained many times in my other videos, you can reveal a Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand to special summon this card, and then once per turn he can pop any monster on the field, but then this card cannot attack. So it does emphasize that wording, that this card. So if you have a way to get it off the field, then reborn it somehow in the same turn, you can activate the effect to destroy something yet again, because that's actually just a soft once per turn. However, the summoning is a hard once per turn, so, little thing for you to know that I've explained a lot. The 2 Jet Dragon. This is a very good card. Some people play it at 3 just to see it. I like the 2. I feel like 3 is a little too much because we already have so many level 8s, and this is known as Brick City deck, as many high-level decks are. But Jet Dragon is one of your other strongest cards because he keeps your field safe. So, first and foremost, if a card on your field is destroyed, or on the field is destroyed, correction, you can special summon this card. So if you happen to destroy something of your opponent's while this is in your hand or grave, his effect will activate to special summon himself, and then, just going for another attack. If it attacks an opponent's monster or is being attacked, he can activate his other effect to bounce that monster back to the hand once per turn. And his other effect is that other cards on your field cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So if they lightning storm you, they cannot hit the back row, they cannot hit your other attack position monsters. He'd be the only thing to go if he was an attack. But if you summon him in defense, lightning storm is effectively turned off. Same goes for Harpy's Featherstorm, all the works. And then Dragon Spirit of White. This is always treated as a Blue Eyes card, for 1. And while it's in your graveyard and hand, it's counted as a normal monster. So this is some good Dragon Shrine shenanigans play. Its effect is when this card is summoned, you can target a spell or trap on your opponent's field and banish it. That does miss timing, so, emphasize the win. And should your opponent control a monster, you can tribute this card, summon Blue Eyes White Dragon directly from your hand, so it'll help dodge things that target it, or or get it off the field if you do happen to have something like Skill Drain, which we play in this deck because it's Blue Eyes. That's a staple card pretty much. Next is the 2 Dictator of D. I was thinking about playing this at 3 just to have it as another dark target for my fusion cards, but I think playing it as 2 it is pretty fine. Its effect to summon itself is a cost, I believe, so you can send a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to the grave to special summon this card, so yeah, that's a cost. Then you can discard a card that specifically lists Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes White Dragon in its text, or just the card itself. And special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your graveyard. Like, King Lord of D just went through so many iterations of himself. It's crazy. His other effect is pretty much like number 38. And when your opponent declares an attack, you can activate his effect to redirect that attack to whatever else of your choice. So you can make them fight your big dragons if they're not big enough themselves. But yeah, it's a good card just to get onto the field and help get Blue Eyes into your grave. And now the 3 important card is a 3 White Stone of Ancients. If this card, during the turn it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. And during the main phase, not the same, well, the same turn or whatever, you can banish this card, add a Blue Eyes monster back from your graveyard to your hand. So it'll help get things like your Dragon Spirit alternative White Dragon back to your hand, your Blue Eyes Jet, although I don't know why you do that, or just the irregular Blue Eyes if you have other cards in your hand that you want to use it for as a discard fodder. That's it for the Blue Eyes side. Now for the branded side, which is very short. Just play the 1 Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, and the 2 Fallen of Albaz. I was thinking about bumping Fallen of Albaz up to 3 just so, my branded fusion's not dead most of the times. But if you play this deck correctly, you can just always loop this 1 card back to your deck. Anyway, Albion's effect, if it's in your hand or graveyard, you can send a Fallen of Albaz or a branded spell or trap card from your deck or hand to the graveyard. And depending on where you sent it from, you get 1 or 2 effects. If it's from the hand, you can special summon this card, which never happens. The most importantly is if it's from your deck, you send a card, shuffle it up, put this on the bottom, and then draw a whole new card. So, helps to fix your hand if it's not looking the greatest. And then Fallen of Albaz, we all should know what it does, but a walking super poly on the field by discarding a card, a fusion summon, and you just one of the very important cards for branded fusion. So the only thing that can be used with branded fusion, I believe. And then for the final lineup of monsters, we do have just the 3 Ash Blossom. Just stop your opponent from interacting with the deck as much as possible. You're fighting up against branded Despia, hit branded fusion, although with the new support they have now, that never, depending on their hand, doesn't hurt too much. Stop Kashtira with the Osmosis or whatever card name it is. Anything that your opponent's deck needs to go off that interacts with the deck, just activate Ash. She says no, and their turn often just ends right then and there. That's it for the monster count. Now for the spells, I was playing Pot of Prosperity, but I believe running the trade-in is just back to being more important. Mostly because there's always going to be a high density of level 8s, like Albion is level 8. All your Blue Eyes Dragons are level 8. There's a total of 8 level 8 dragons in this deck, or whatever version of the deck you play. I have nothing against Pot of Prosperity, but it's like, you don't go into everything in your extra deck too often, but there are times if you banish a certain card, you will need it, and then you can't get it back so easily. So I personally say running trade-in is better because, if you have too many level 8s, this is a good card. Plus, this is a Blue Eyes deck at the end of the day. You don't want to have the battle damage you're doing. And if your hand doesn't look that great, you can't really do anything about it. You have to use it. Worry about getting hit with Ash, because then, another reason, you lost 6 to 3 of your extra deck cards for no reason. At least with trading, your things in the graveyard have another use. So that's my personal reason for using this again. So, you guys can use what you want. It's all personal preference. Next is the 3 Fusion Deployment. This card is really good in this deck because not only do you have Fallen of Albaz to use for the fusion cards, you can also bring out this thing. I've noticed that I was like, yeah, I can just tutor Blue Eyes out straight from the deck. That's wild. However, if you use this card, I believe you can only fusion summon for the rest of the turn. So there's that. But it's still a good card to help tutor out your deck and then get Fall of Albaz's effect should your opponent have things on the field from the extra deck. Next up we have Branded Fusion. Obviously typical thing. I can't talk. Wow. Yeah, but Branded Fusion, activate this. If your opponent doesn't ask you, you go right into your fusion plays. Next up, I have the one Call by the Grave. The one Bingo Machine Go to help search out any of my Blue Eyes monsters or my Blue Eyes cards. Or you can also, just search out any of your Blue Eyes monsters or Blue Eyes spell and traps, such as being Ultimate Fusion. Helps going into your other Blue Eyes fusions that's in your extra deck. You can send materials from your hand, field, or graveyard, I believe, shuffling them back into the deck. And then for the final spell, we run Branded Red. Get Fallen of Albaz back from your graveyard to then fusion summon into something. Can always come up. That's it for the spell lineup. And now for the traps. I am playing the 3 True Light. This is our Dark Magician version of Eternal Soul. Special summon a Blue Eyes from your graveyard or your hand. From your hand or graveyard. And its other effect is you can set a spell or trap card that specifically lists Blue Eyes White Dragon in its text. However, it has to be different from the cards that are on your field and graveyard. So you can't just set another one of this, which would be broken. But you can set things like your Bingo Machine Go, your Ultimate Fusion, or the other trap card, the Invincible Indestructible Machine, which I don't have. I may have to pick up another copy. But for the other traps, I do run the 3 Solemn Judgment, because as long as you're still in the duel, you have life points to pay. Sucks when going into time. And the traditional card for Blue Eyes deck is 3 Skill Drain. People hate when I flip this up because it's like I'm not running any main deck outs to skill drain or something. Like my outs are my monster effects, which I can't even activate or resolve unless they're in the graveyard. So this just automatically wins games on its own after time. If you set one card, your opponent's gonna be like, oh my god, that's skill drain. But it could also be one of these cards. But you do want it to be skill drain. That is it for the main deck. That is a clean 40. Next up for our extra, we have the 2 Albion, the 2 Alba Lenatus, the 2 Libellion, and the 2 Mirror Jades to go all about the Albaz or fusions. Everybody and their mother should know what these cards does, but if you don't, Albion's effect: when fusion summon, you can fusion summon another Albaz fusion monster, Synchro, but we do have that, by banishing the materials from your hand, field, or grave. And if it's in the graveyard at the end of the turn, you can set or add to your hand a branded spell or trap card. Alba Lentis, I never really summoned this card, so this was always something I'd banish off of Pot of Prosperity, so I probably will take it out for something else. But its effect, let's see what you do again. Well, first you can send the above cards to the graveyard, so you can send Albaz and the Dragon, though you can't really do that to your opponent's stuff, I don't think. Leave that in the comments below. Again, we don't summon this too often. Let me know if any other branded players do. And once per turn, in the end phase, if this card is in your grave, because it was sent there, you can add Poly or a Fusion spell card to your hand. So it's a pretty good card, actually. Next up, the 2 Libellion. This one's pretty standard. When Fusion Summon, you can discard a card for cost, and then Fusion Summon by shuffling the fusion materials from your hand, field, grave, and or banish pile back to the deck. And then we have Mirror Jade, the boss of the Albaz himself. Once per turn, you can send a monster that lists Albaz or whatever to the extra graveyard. Banish a monster on your opponent's field that does not target And when this card hits the graveyard because of an opponent's card, be it effect or battle, you can activate the effect at the end phase, destroy their entire field of monsters. Keep in mind that that is what is known as a delayed effect. So if they have something to negate destruction, they have to. I don't believe they can activate. Yeah, they can't really activate it. Like Stardust Dragon, for example, he can't activate his effect to Victim Sanctuary himself away because this is a delayed destruction. So use that. Their field is gone. And for our other fusions, we do have the 2 Tyrant Dragon and the 1 Twin Burst. Tyrant Dragon can be fusion summoned by using Blue Eyes and any dragon, so any of these, you're falling with Albaz. It is unaffected by traps, for one, so if this is on the field first, then you flip Skill Drain, he's just sitting pretty. He can attack all monsters on your opponent's side of the field, and when it attacks, you can add one of your trap cards from the graveyard back to your hand. So you can set back your Solemn Judgment, your True Light, your Skill Drain if your opponent happens to get rid of it. It's just a really crazy card. Then Twin Burst, just a good contact fuse monster, but your fusion materials go to the graveyard still. Can attack twice in the battle phase, and if he fails to destroy something in battle, he can banish it non-targeting, which is a really great effect, and cannot be destroyed by battle himself. Next up for the synchros, I do play the 1 Moonlight, the 1 Azure Eyes, and the 1 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Moonlight is a very good monster still in this format because she go great against Kashtira and whatever else is special summoning. Azure Eyes, on summon, all your other dragons, including himself, are protected, cannot be targeted or destroyed by the opponent's card effects or just your opponent's card effects, not your own effects. Card effects in general. And in the standby phase of yours, you can special summon a normal dragon monster from your graveyard, so it'll help trigger off your Dragon Spirit of White multiple times, or just get Blue Eyes back on the field. And Spirit Dragon, the Pendulum Killer, as I like to call it, for the state is that neither player can summon more than 2 monsters at the same time. So this would effectively shut down like regular pendulum magicians or super heavies if they have pendulum monsters and they want to do all that, so on and so forth. His other effect is that his first other effect is that he once per turn, if a card effect is activated in the graveyard, you can negate it. And he has another effect where he tributes himself to summon a light synchro dragon monster, which is why we have these 2. However, it will die at the end phase, except, Azure Eyes, because his effect will protect himself. Now on for our final monsters, we do play the 1 Link Karibo. There will be times where if the only card in your hand is the stone, you're going to want to have it in the graveyard as soon as possible, so just link it off into Link Karibo. It's not a bad card. And the 1 Hieratic Seal of Dragons. Good monster to tribute, bounce one of your opponent's monsters back to the hand. Then this effect will activate to bring back to summon a dragon from your deck. That's it for the entire deck. Now for the side. Keep in mind that, side deck is personal preference, but this is what I have chosen to side. I side the 2 Spellbound. It's a very iffy card because, you have to know when to use it correctly, but if you use it, monsters your opponent currently controls cannot be tributed, nor can they be used as Synchro, Xyz, Fusion, Link, or Ritual summon material. It just shuts down any of those summon mechanics. I think playing the 2 Silent Graveyard is a nice little cute tech because there are some archetypes that have effects that resolve in the graveyard, Naturia being one of them. I'm not sure if Purely is one, but you can never be too careful. So discard a card, all effects that activate in the graveyard this turn are negated. And the Purely / Kashtira Killer XC Encore. This was really clutch in my local because my opponent had a Rise Heart on the field, and I did hit him with the Evenly Match. He kept the Arise Heart. Then I hit Xyz Encore. He had to banish his materials, which Garura was one of them underneath him. He doesn't get the effect, and Kashtira Rise Heart goes right back to the extra deck. So this card is just ridiculous. Note that does say target the monster, and even if that monster, X Purely Noir, is unaffected by the card effect, this is not affecting the card itself, it's affecting the player, because the player has to detach all materials on that card if able, and if it has no materials, the player has to put it back into their hand / extra deck. Moving on, we have the 3 evenly matched, the 3 D Barrier, and the 3 Torrential Tribute. So that's it for the Blue Eyes deck profile, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, again, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, and be sure to share this video with everyone else, and leave comments down below what you would add, what you would improve, what you would play this deck with, Synchro, XCs, whatever else variant. But that's all for me. Take care, guys.